Well, in the streaming era, there's a constant curiosity around what gets movie fans out to theaters. Last summer, big films like Barbie and Oppenheimer helped create fresh excitement around the cinema experience. Speaking of experiences, the business of IMAX helps to make trips to the theater more fun. IMAX has partnerships with exhibitors around the world. Just announced an expanded partnership today in the Philippines. Let's get some more insight and analysis from the company's CEO, Rich Gelfond. Nice to have you back with us, Rich. And you guys recently reported your quarterly results. How would you characterize what's happening with the business right now?
It's very strong, John. We ended last year with almost equivalent of 2019 revenues and box office. The regular cinema industry was down about 20% from the record year, and we were pretty much even with 2019. The first quarter's gotten off to a very good start. We exceeded consensus on virtually every matrix. I think the high point of the first quarter was Dune 2, where we've done about $145 million. Or, to me, the most interesting part, we did about 21% of the global box office. So if you just take that in for a second, IMAX on 0.8% of the screens did 1 in 5 tickets in the world. So things are going pretty well for us.
So for context, would you say the outperformance of films that are viewed in IMAX in terms of box office receipts, have we seen any comparisons like this in the past?
Yeah, I mean, Oppenheimer, we also did around 20% of the box office. So when you film with IMAX cameras and you project in IMAX, either film or digital, and you have a really good movie and really good directors, we vastly over-index. I think we've seen numbers like this before on some of the Chris Nolan movies and some of the other movies, but the consistency of over-indexing is what's notable. And we've also been increasing the aperture of the kinds of things that go to the IMAX platform. So during the first quarter, we played a Queen concert from 40 years ago that we remastered, and we did a very nice $5.5 million over a weekend. We had Andre 3000. We're doing the opening ceremony for the Olympics coming up now. We have a documentary called The Blue Angels that's being released within the next month. So not only are we over-indexing on Hollywood, but we're widening the kinds of content we put on our platform.
And what's the conversation like with exhibitors around the world? We mentioned you just expanded a partnership in the Philippines. Obviously, your growth story is tied in part to expanding existing partnerships, working with new exhibitors. How would you sort of geographically explain the business of IMAX now?
Well, the business is getting a lift at all levels. So more films are being filmed with IMAX cameras. As a matter of fact, next summer we have, from May through September, 7 films in a row filmed with IMAX cameras, including Mission Impossible, a few Marvel movies, Superman, Formula One, lots of things. So that's having an add-on effect. So customers are coming in greater numbers. Exhibitors want those customers at a higher ticket price. They're signing theaters at a greater number. Studios and filmmakers are wanting to film in IMAX in greater numbers. And it creates kind of a virtuous cycle, which is going on right now.
And you alluded to what we saw last summer with Oppenheimer. I am curious, this summer as you look ahead, what kind of box office are you anticipating?
Again, you know, we're not in the business of predicting box office by movie or by quarter, but we did give guidance earlier in the year to say we expected results similar to 2019, and in 2019 we did over $1 billion. And among the notable films coming out are Furiosa, Planet of the Apes with Disney, Despicable Me 4, Deadpool versus Wolverine. We're very excited about The Joker coming out with Warner Brothers later this year. Lots of foreign language films all over the world. Again, supplemental films such as a Beach Boys concert that we're doing. So I feel pretty good about the rest of the year for the slate. And then there's a couple Christmas movies that are promising also. A prequel to The Lion King, a number of other things. So I think it looks pretty good.
And then as you think about different offerings, you alluded to some of them. I know in your conference call, you were getting some analyst inquiries around, when it comes to big sporting events and if IMAX is associated with that too. What do you want investors to understand about the kinds of projects and productions that sort of are going to represent the IMAX business going forward?
Great question, John. So I think the IMAX platform has really demonstrated that it's the best place to tell stories historically and get audiences to come in and watch visual and audio effects. So we're broadening that now, where it's still doing that with Hollywood blockbusters, but it's also doing that with foreign language film. So last year, over 20% of our box office was foreign language films. And then, as I said, this year, it's not only Blue Angels, that documentary. We've got 3 other documentaries in production now, including one with Adam McKay about chasing tornadoes and hurricanes. We've got all this alternative content. So I want investors to realize it's a platform that's historically done phenomenally well on these U.S. blockbusters. It's now going to more global blockbusters. The documentaries, we call them docubusters, and other types of alternative content like Taylor Swift and Beyonce, which we did last year. So you have a growing network, a growing variety of films, films that should deliver growing box office, and I think that adds up to a very promising outlook.